Well, guys, Kamala Harris has proved yet again that she is a much better human than Donald Trump will ever be. She just presided over the certification of the election that she lost to Donald Trump, and we all know that without question, Donald Trump would never, ever be able to do the same. We all saw how things went back in 2021 when he sent a group of his supporters to the Capitol to try to stop the certification of the election that he lost to Joe Biden. And MAGA lunatics have been in overdrive ever since that day, trying to sell a story to the American people that January 6th was no big deal. It was a peaceful protest and legitimate political discourse. So I think it is very important that we remind people what exactly led up to the events of that day, what actually occurred on January 6th, and do not let Republicans and conservatives and MAGA lunatics try to tell you that January 6th was no big deal. It was an attack on our democracy. I view these people as traitors. They tried to tear down one of the fundamental tenets of our democracy, the peaceful transfer of power. And now Donald Trump is even promising that he is going to pardon those who beat the shit out of cops that day. So let's go ahead and take a look. We all have to remember, just to brush up on our history, that Donald Trump spent the moments or the months up to the election claiming that there was going to be voter fraud. This is how he set the stage for the events of that day. So let's go ahead and take a look at this really quick, and then we will discuss.
And leading up to the 2020 election, Trump laid the groundwork early.
The only way we're going to lose this election is if the election is rigged. Remember that.
The stage was set for Trump's big election lie.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us.
Soon after, prominent Republicans amplified the big lie.
We lose elections because they cheat us.
A Trumpian coalition formed by Women for America First crisscrossed the country in Trump-red buses, pushing out the big lie. And the Trump fantasy that the election was stolen permeated the minds of millions of Americans.
So not only did Donald Trump spend months up to the election claiming that the election was going to be fraudulent, that it was going to be stolen from him, but even after he lost the election and he knew he lost, he continued to spread the very same lie. And spineless Republicans in the Senate, in the House, they also played along and started spreading these claims far and wide, setting the stage for people to be so angry on January 6th that they would resort to violence on that day. This, guys, is absolutely insane. Donald Trump knew what he was doing. We have the indictments to prove he knew what he was doing, but he did it anyways, because Donald Trump is an authoritarian wannabe. Donald Trump is a fascist. And I view him, like I said, as a traitor to this country because Donald Trump doesn't view the Constitution on any sort of special level. He doesn't view the American people as somebody he wants to fight for. Donald Trump was only interested in Donald Trump. And when he lost an election and his ego was so bruised by that, he resorted to lies and disinformation to rile up his supporters into believing that, hey, maybe the election was actually stolen. And when January 6th did roll around, he used that speech on the Ellipse to spread these lies even further, to solidify this thought in people's mind as he used violent rhetoric surrounding these claims. And this is what riled up his supporters to storm the Capitol that day.
We'll never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
it does look like we're going to have an ad hoc march stepping off here. There's a crowd surge heading east.
Mike Pence, I hope you're going to stand up for the good of our Constitution and for the good of our country. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I will tell you right now.
He went on to say that we need to fight like hell and that you needed to show strength and take your country back or something to that effect. He then called on Mike Pence to stop the certification of the election because he wanted his fake electors to be voted on in their place, or to stop the certification and then kick it back to the states so they could try to actually steal the election. Now, he told his supporters that day that he was going to be there with them. He was going to march down to the Capitol with them. But that didn't turn out to be true. We later learned that maybe he did want to go and that he even possibly got violent with one of his drivers because they wouldn't take him to the Capitol. But neither of that is here nor there. We know that the days of that, or the events of that day, were violent. And the MAGA lunatics have been trying to spin a story to the American people that just is not true. So we need to remember that on that day, more than 140 police officers were beaten to a pulp, 5 of whom died in connection with the events of that day. 9 people in total died in connection to the events on January 6th. That is including Ashley Babbitt, who was trying to force her way into the House chamber or the Senate chamber when she was shot in the neck. Do not let these people rewrite history. This is a stand on our democracy. This is a stand on our country. And we cannot forget the events of that day. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the events that unfolded, including some of the violence that occurred that day.
We're going to give riot warnings. This is the apparatus here. We're going to give riot warnings. We're going to try and get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot.
49 hours declaring it a riot.
5 to 50 be advised. They're trying to breach and get to the Capitol.
Hold the line! Hold the line! Hold the line!
We have a breach of the Capitol. Breach of the Capitol to the upper level. Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution. Bring out Pence. Bring out Pence. Bring out Pence.
We can't hold this. We're going to get too many people. Look at this vantage point, man.
We're trying to hold the upper deck. We're trying to hold the upper deck now. We need an area for the House members. They're all walking over now through the tunnels. We need to move now.
Copy.
If we lose any more time, we may lose the ability to leave. So if we're going to leave, we need to do it now. We lost the line. We lost the line. All MPD, pull back. All MPD, pull back to the upper deck. ASAP. H208 with 4 members. The door's barricaded. There's people flooded the hallways outside. We have no way out. Officers still remaining on the House floor, so we can secure the members on the other side. Copy. Officers down! Get them up! Get them up!
Doesn't look like a peaceful protest to me. Officers were beaten unconscious, spared with mace and bear spray. I think one of them even lost their eye. And then, of course, 5 of them died in connections to these events. But Republicans and MAGA lunatics continue to tell the story that January 6th was no big deal, because they want to let dear leader Donald Trump off the hook. Absolutely despicable behavior. Each and every person who is denying the events of that day, each and every elected official who is running cover for Donald Trump and his involvement in sending those people to the Capitol that day should be removed from office. These people should be classified as traitors to our country, trying to tear down the pillars of our democracy on live television, and they live stream the whole thing. And now Donald Trump is promising to pardon even the ones who beat the shit out of police officers that day. Now, it wasn't always true that Republicans were going to let Donald Trump off the hook for this. Right after the events of that day, we even had people like Lindsay Graham coming out and acknowledging that this was bad, that this was violent, and this was condemnable, and Donald Trump should be held accountable for his actions that day.
I hate it to end this way. Oh my God, I hate it. From my point of view, he's been a consequential president. But today, first thing you'll see. All I can say is count me out. Enough is enough.
And of course, we now know that Lindsey Graham has taken an about face and is supporting Donald Trump in every single thing that he does. He has thrown all of his principles aside to suck up to Donald Trump. And you know what? Even Donald Trump came out after the events of that day and condemned the violence because he knew, as well as everybody who watched the events unfold that day, that this was a violent insurrection against the United States of America.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
He is now promising to pardon those who were involved in the very insurrection that he just spoke about. He has promised to pardon those who were violent and carried out assault against the police that day. It is absolutely insane to me that the country has decided to put this man back in office when he is clearly a traitor to this country. He doesn't care about the Constitution. He doesn't care about the rules and the norms. He doesn't care about the democracy. Donald Trump is an authoritarian fascist. And it was him and his acolytes who put the plans in place and riled up the base enough for January 6th to happen the way it did. Let's not forget, there was fake electors in swing states all across the country that were trying to vote fraudulently on Donald Trump's behalf. Let's not forget that Donald Trump was calling up Brad Raffensperger and telling him to find 11,780 votes. Donald Trump literally tried to steal an election from the American people. And we cannot let Trump or the MAGA Republicans live that down. And we certainly cannot let them rewrite history telling the American people that this was all just legitimate political discourse. This was just a peaceful protest and people standing up for their God-given rights. That is a load of shit, and we need to call it out every single step of the way. This was not okay, and we cannot forget the people who stood up for our democracy that day. So, I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. I just crossed over my first 1,000 subscribers. Just wanted to say thank you one more time for that. Please do remember to share this with your friends. And I guess I'll just leave it there for now. I will see you guys on the next one.